This happened to me and three friends in the summer of 2020, somewhere in northern Pennsylvania. We went camping to disconnect, to get off the grid. But that's exactly what made it easy for someone to watch us. There were four of us, me, Ryan, Jason, and Noah. We were all in our mid-20s and had been best friends since high school. That summer, we decided to go camping for a weekend. No phones, no signal, just nature and beer. It was supposed to be relaxing. We found this spot through a random hiking block. It wasn't a designated campground, more like a patch of forest way off any real trail. Perfect for what we wanted, no one around. We got there Friday afternoon, set up 2 tents, started a fire, cracked a few drinks. By sunset, we were just laughing and telling stories. It felt safe, peaceful. But sometime after midnight, things started to feel different. We were all sitting by the fire when Noah suddenly went quiet. He said he heard something, like footsteps, off in the trees behind us. We paused the music. Listened. Nothing. But that silence. It was almost worse than any sound. Not even wind. No bugs. No birds. Just still. We figured maybe it was an animal. A raccoon or something. Jason threw a rock into the trees and we all laughed it off. But that wasn't the part that scared me. The next morning, Noah said he'd had trouble sleeping. Said he swore he saw a flashlight in the distance sometime around 3 a.m., but it disappeared when he blinked. We teased him, said he probably just dreamed it. But he looked shaken. Later that day, Ryan went to pee in the woods. When he came back, he asked if we'd followed him out there. We hadn't. He said he heard someone moving behind him, like crunching leaves. But when he turned around, no one was there. Again, we brushed it off. But then that night, things escalated. We were around a fire again, telling dumb stories when I got this weird feeling. Like we were being watched. I didn't say anything. Didn't want to seem paranoid. But I kept looking over my shoulder. Into the dark. Then Jason froze. He pointed toward the trees and whispered, "Did you see that?" We all turned, nothing. But he swore he saw movement. Like someone ducked behind a tree. We got our flashlights. Walked around the camp perimeter. Called out. Nothing. When we came back, though, there were footprints. Not ours. Leading toward our tents and away again. That's when it hit us. Someone had been standing near our tents while we were walking the other way. We didn't sleep that night. We kept the fire going, sat in shifts. In the morning, we packed up fast. We didn't even bother with breakfast. But as we were folding one of the tents, Ryan stopped and said, "Guys, there's something weird on the tent." On the outside of the tent fabric, near the back, there was a greasy handprint. Not like dirt. It looked like someone with oily hands had pressed it there. From the outside, while we were inside. That meant whoever it was had been close. Real close. And quiet enough that we didn't even know it. We hiked out of there in dead silence. No jokes. No music. Just that sick, crawling feeling under our skin. We never filed a report. Never found out who it was. There was no gear left behind. No signs of another camper. But someone was out there. Someone who had watched us, followed us, got close. To this day, I think about what could have happened if we had stayed just one more night. Was it just a random hiker, or were they waiting for something? And how long had they been out there, watching us in the dark? This happened to me in the summer of 2022, during a hiking trip in New Mexico. I was on a solo trip, trying to reset after a rough year. I just quit a toxic job, gone through a breakup, and honestly just needed to get away from everything. So I booked a week in New Mexico and planned to do some hiking through Carson National Forest. I wasn't reckless. I had a paper map, a portable charger, extra water, and I stayed on marked trails. Or at least I thought I did. It was supposed to be a short loop, 2 hours max. But somewhere along the trail, I took a wrong turn. Probably when I stopped to take pictures near a rocky slope. I remember seeing some wildlife and veering off just a bit. An hour later, I realized the path didn't look familiar anymore. No markers, just overgrown brush and these weird, narrow paths that looked barely used. I tried retracing my steps, but everything started to look the same. Endless trees, sloped dirt, that sound of dry branches crunching underfoot. At first, I stayed calm. I had enough daylight left, my phone still had a signal, but every direction I walked, the trail just disappeared. Like it had never been there at all. Eventually, I checked my phone GPS, and the map app was loading slowly, probably from the spotty reception. That's when I heard it. "You lost too," a voice, not too far away. I turned around and saw a man, maybe in his 40s, dressed like a hiker with a big pack and a walking stick. He looked weathered, like he'd been out here a while. I was startled, but also relieved. I figured I wasn't alone anymore. I said, "Yeah, I think I veered off the trail." He nodded and walked over slowly. "Same here. These trails are a mess. You looking for the parking area?" I told him yes, and he said he knew a shortcut back. Said he'd come this way before, and there was a dry creek bed that led toward the entrance road. But that wasn't the part that scared me. As we walked, I asked how long he'd been out there. He didn't really answer. Just said, "Long enough." I asked where he parked. He paused and said, "It doesn't matter now. We'll both be out soon." That gave me a weird feeling, like he was dodging the question. After maybe 20 minutes of hiking deeper into the woods, still no signs of any trail, he stopped and said, "We should rest a bit." I didn't want to, I just wanted to get back, but I didn't want to offend him either, so I nodded and sat down. While I was drinking water, I noticed something. His pack didn't have a water bottle or food, just looked empty, like it was for show. Then I noticed something else. His boots. They were worn down completely, like he hadn't just been out for a few hours, but days, maybe more. I said, "So, what day did you get here?" He looked at me and smiled. "Hard to tell out here. No clocks in the woods." That's when the realization hit me. He wasn't lost. He wasn't even hiking. He was leading me somewhere. Not out. Deeper. I made up an excuse. Told him I had a blister and needed to fix my boot. He didn't argue, just nodded and looked around, as if waiting for something. I crouched down, opened my pack, and quietly turned on location sharing on my phone. Sent a live pin to my brother, then made it look like I was tightening my laces. Then I stood up and said, "Actually, I'm going to try heading east. I think I saw a cell tower that way earlier." He didn't protest, just stood there, still smiling. But then he said, "You'll just end up back here. Everyone does." I turned and walked. Fast. Didn't run, didn't want to seem scared. But my heart was pounding. For over an hour, I hiked in one direction. No trail, just trees and hills and silence. Eventually, somehow I picked up a signal. I followed the map until I hit a dirt road. No cars, but I followed it anyway. And finally, I saw a ranger's truck parked on the side. I made it back. Later, I asked the ranger if anyone else had reported getting lost. He said no. No missing hikers that week. He even told me the path I described, the one I thought I took, hadn't been maintained in over 4 years. And that dry creek shortcut, that didn't exist. Not on any map. So who was that guy? Why was he out there? Was I just lucky to get away? Or did I walk into someone else's trap and slip through by mistake?